most of you may know me, but for those that don't, I'm Sian Rees and I'm head of the School of Cultural Communication. And I've just come to say hello really and to kick off today's session to welcome everybody here. CODAH, Digital Humanities, is really dear to my heart. Leighton and I, as early career researchers and budding part-time PhD people, I say part-time, we just did it alongside our day jobs, didn't we?
Somehow, somewhere, yeah.
You know, got involved in a conference on digital humanities. It was probably a decade ago, but I did try to think what the take might have been. But I think it probably was. Was it 13 years ago? And that was a really great event to be involved in. We had speakers in from a whole range of different places, but it was a great celebration of bringing together the humanities and the digital. And at that point in time, it was very much focused around how we can use technology and digital techniques to inform and explore and share and celebrate and research the humanities. For me, CODAH has moved on in a really exciting and dynamic way since then. You know, still embracing that core concept of the digital humanities and how we can use technology to explore those areas. But actually, it's almost turned the other way as well. You know, how can we use humanities to challenge the digital, and how can we use humanities to understand our world and to connect into science and those other areas? And I think CODAH is a really exciting research group at the core and the centre of all of that, and it's really exciting today to see you kind of looking at this digital culture, you know, and these provocations, if you like, on culture, and really looking at that intersection of how both these areas and this interdisciplinary approach can inform each other's subject areas. And we know that the research councils and many of those big research grant opportunities that are around at the moment are at that intersection. There's this huge focus on interdisciplinary work and making us all think beyond the boundaries of our own disciplines. So I'm really excited for all of you today. I know it's going to be an exciting day. I'm not going to stay, but I'm looking forward to hearing back. And I know that you will enjoy these thoughts from these speakers, but also then the conversations that will ensue. And I'm sure that, you know, I always find on these days that my mind, you know, I always get very overexcited with ideas and projects. That's the nature. I have to tame it back. But I know these days are those great moments when those ideas come, don't they? And with people that can help nurture them and maybe help bring them to fruition. So it'd be really good to see what kind of then comes out of your wider discussions at the end of the day. I'm going to leave you to it. I'm going to say a big thank you to Leighton for organising and bringing you all together. Because I know that he doesn't like me to do that kind of thing, but it's important. So I'll leave you to the day and enjoy and look forward to hearing back to how it goes.
Thank you, Sian.
Thank you.
Morning, everybody. I hope you're all in the right place. After Sian's introduction, if you're not, please feel free to go if you're not in the right place. You know, you come for some kind of, conference about catering or something. Well, this is probably not for you. But this is our program, which does everyone have a program? Does everyone have my lovely little information sheet, which I'll be collecting in from you later, which I'll be using to try and map on everyone's research interests. My idea is I'm going to create a visual tool that everyone can see exactly what people are doing within CODAH, so you can try and start matching up research interests with one another using this online tool. How that will go, I'm not quite sure at the moment. The title of this, Digital Humanities, Digital Culture and the Looming Metaverse on the Horizon. Can we hear this? Nothing goes smoothly, right? Sorry. The ultimate message. So, the title of this is really, I don't want today to be about the metaverse, because I hate the metaverse. Every topic I write on, within 6 months, I despise it more than anything, which is why I've got a real problem at the moment writing about video games, because I love video games. But I'm going to hate video games within 6 months. The reason why I've structured this around the metaverse is because, and I'll come to this at the end of the introduction as well, what XR, or extended reality in general, poses to us is a significant issue. we are about, and we don't quite know what form this is going to take yet, we're about to move into a different form of mediation of the world around us. But we haven't solved any of the problems of the last lot yet. Really, the digital age, and we can have some argument about this. Will, what do you consider the start of the digital age?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
What, 2,000 years ago?
I think that's too early. But I'd go about 95.
Okay.
Something like that, somewhere around then, Windows 95, something jumping off point for me. So we've had nearly 30 years of the digital being the primacy, the primary mode of mediation of everyday life, and we still haven't got to grips with most of the problems of it. Instead, we start to find new problems all the time. And now we're going to jump off into a different sort of way of doing things, where digital mediation is going to be part of our everyday structures of life, or could even be the primary mode in which we live our lives in the future as well, through virtually created worlds. And we still haven't got to grips with the stuff. We've actually got a problem. So I'm hoping today that this myriad of talks and the program we've put together will surface what I think is more contemporary issues with regards to the, there are old chestnuts which we could have gone over, we could have mulled over, but these are things which are actually cutting edge and still massive problems. The reason why I want to talk about the metaverse just to begin with is because I see it as being the ultimate convergent medium. Whereas the internet was massively convergent in bringing together all forms of earlier media into one form. The metaverse is going to take that and put it into a completely media created form itself as well, a completely artificial way of doing things. So you've got convergence on top of convergence, which means it's going to drag every issue that we have in digital culture and digital life with it, and the people who are behind this don't care. They care about shareholders, they care about a number of visitors, they care about, in the old days they cared about clicks, now they care about where your eyes go. And now they have ways of measuring that. And this has become the primary concern of the organisations which are involved in doing this. And hence, the problems that we have in the digital world are going to be amplified. They're going to be modified, they're going to change, and new ones will arise. But if we don't have a full understanding of the ones that already exist, what position are we to even consider the ones that are coming forward from it? In a shameless effort to drive up my paltry residual checks that I get every March, this book made me £16 this year. Come on! A lot of issues with regards to contemporary digital culture are discussed in this book, which came out last November, From Microverse to Metaverse, where my colleagues Jordan and Mike and I, we discussed how the metaverse is going to take particular domains of digital culture at the moment, such as gaming, dating, social networking, exercise and activity, and create new problems within those areas based on this convergence within a virtual landscape which is controlled by singular companies. Really, I wanted this to be a jumping off point today, because what I see the talks today is doing is adding stuff that I know nothing about, which aren't in this book, because I simply don't have the knowledge to even do that, and try and really fill in some of the gaps from this paltry exercise in shameless sort of academic grubbing. So, what is the metaverse? Well, during 2021 in particular, a new zeitgeist in digital media to rival the blockchain. That, I went years into blockchain's going to do this, blockchain's going to do that. From 2015 onwards, all the talks are about blockchain. I'm hoping, Dion, you explain to me what blockchain is. No. In both exposure and potential mislead on promise, the metaverse came forward. In 2021, you can track using statistical tools. The upshoot in, I use the Google tool for tracking the use of words in web articles, and it's like, whoa, it just flew in 2021. In the wake of that, companies have developed virtual worlds now claim that they're building towards a metaverse of some kind. And the metaverse refers to persistent, real-time rendered three-dimensional worlds in virtual reality that are experienced synchronously by an unlimited number of users. Many of us who consume fiction will be familiar with this idea of the metaverse. It's appeared in many works of dystopian science fiction in the past. Most famously, probably Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash from 1992, which was the first book to actually use the term metaverse, although you can see the idea of the metaverse in other books, in particular William Gibson's Neuromancer from 1984, and books going actually back into the 50s and 60s. Well, did Philip Dick ever write about this?
There's loads of VR in Dick.
There is, yeah. I'm just trying to think, is there one?
Ubik, maybe? Ubik, maybe?
Yeah. I think it's probably that's there, right? That kind of idea is there. So this is hardly a new thing in terms of how it's being conceptualized by people. The interesting thing being that those science fiction authors who wrote about this, almost to a person, wrote about it in a negative context. This is a horrible thing. This is a mechanism and weapon of control, and in particular, mind control. This is not going to be a good thing for humanity. Of course, then you get companies like Facebook who rebranded themselves to Meta coming along and saying, no, this is really good, because you see what we've done is we've already made a dystopian presence. And what we're going to intensify the dystopia now by doing this thing as well. So, very, very, very problematic set of ideas that underpin the metaverse. The term is incredibly messy at the moment. And in my view, it's mainly a marketing term used to drive stock prices. It did that for a little while for Meta as a company. It's now backfiring big time, and they are losing stock value like hell, and are laying off tens of thousands of people. The metaverse actually has real-world consequences. Facebook hired tens of thousands of engineers to build this. Now they're having to get rid of them because they can't make it work. That is interesting in itself. The persistent virtual world that people can enter and exit at will is a world made up of domains of activity which we are concerned with in the digital humanities, digital arts, and in digital culture. We are already talking about these things. We have been talking about social media for 15 to 20 years. We have been talking about the digital economy for 20 years. We have been talking about trolling for arguably decades, right? We have been, these concerns that arise from the metaverse itself and the questions that are asked about the metaverse are the questions that we are already asking. There isn't really a need for anything new to be created, but we see new fields emerging all the time. We're going to have a couple of talks today on AI, and we're all super concerned about AI right now. Emails yesterday from the institution saying, we're going to have talks about AI and how students can use it. I know students have been using it for the last 18 months. I can read. I can see it. It's pretty obvious to me you didn't write that. So we're always behind the curve on these things to that extent as well. But what I think is important here is this notion of convergence. Convergence of media use and convergence of culture, if you like, into an embodied, present virtual environment which will mask and hide many of the issues that we see apparent in digital culture today, and instead will take them as givens in that environment itself. So the talks that we have today are going to serve, these are real issues which are occurring right now. What the roundtable after lunch, I hope, will do is we can open up and discuss some of these, not just in the context of this, but also in the context of how we as a research group actually go about researching these, and how we go about problematizing these, and how we can actually make progress in these issues that we're going to raise today as well. What I love about the metaverse is it's the most insane gamble I think I've ever seen. Gamblers by nature are not rational human beings. They take money and think they might be able to predict something, and then they usually lose money. Great. Entertainment value, fantastic. If I was running a multi-trillion-dollar company, I would not be staking all of that money on one thing that I thought could be pulled off. But that seems to be what happens in this field. We have a singular company, Meta, who are staking just about everything on this bet that this is going to pay off. And they're betting that people will want to live this way. There's no evidence to suggest that people will want to live that way, exactly because of some of the issues that we're going to look at today. Because digital culture and the digital world is messy. It's problematic. Things happen which put people off. Things happen which alienate people. There are things occurring which are causing real problems in real lives. And to make an argument that actually the way we're going to fix that is to give you more and to make this ubiquitous and to try and get you engaging with this all the time rather than just some of the time, seems really, really strange. But then we've had this policy in government in this country for the last 13 years where it's like, you know, you want to be poor, well, we're going to make you more poor. That'll make you happy. I'm not quite sure this works. Really, what companies are predicting is that people will be happy in these spaces. People will want to be there. They'll want to dwell there. They'll want to live there. And they'll be able to flourish there. There's no evidence to suggest that this is true. This is, however, a major, major financial investment being made, not just by Meta, but other companies as well. And when you look at it that way, you look at the money side of it, well, you can be pretty sure this is going to happen. There's too much on the line now. Too much has been put in. There's a sunk cost fallacy in many regards here, with regards to this has to occur. So, there's a lot of stories at the moment about the death of the Metaverse. The Metaverse is over. Well, something that has that much money in it isn't over. It might change, it might modify, but it's not going anywhere. And some version of this is going to appear in the next few years and is going to create a lot of issues for us as scholars in digital humanities, digital culture, digital arts. The why of why this is happening is really, really straightforward. Basically, you control a virtual world which everyone exists, where everyone has a presence in. You control the code of the world itself. One thing that the major digital giants can't do at the moment is control, on a very, very close level, what happens in the world. The world is too messy and chaotic, and it's not digitally coded. Well, make one that is. Then you have control. Then you can measure everything that goes on. And then, on the basis of that, you can present the world in a particular way to people, individually as they're experiencing that environment. It's the end point of the business model that has been, Shoshana Zuboff calls surveillance capitalism. This is the logical end point of that business model. Is it going to happen? Yes, it is. The Metaverse allows full control of the code of the real by changing what is real into this environment, by making this environment the primary mode of what we experience as the real and the everyday. You'll control space, activity, identity, time, and reality. All these things are going to converge together digitally. And therefore, all the issues that we have at the moment will converge also. Because none of these issues have yet been sorted. That's why we're here, to sort out the world, right? That's why we do this work. This is why we're employed, to sort the world. How are we getting on with that? So, that's the end of that slideshow. Do we have any questions about the day?